Hey guys, how's it going? For this read-through video, I thought I would go ahead and read on camera since this chapter 6, only has 5 pages. I figured, oh, my SD card on my camera probably has enough memory for me to record me reading through that many pages. So I'm going to go ahead and try here. Okay, we're on Chapter 6, Origins. Each year at the family table we acknowledge the tribulations of the past and give thanks for what we now have. Carefully prepared by my mother, the Passover Seder dish sits in the center of the table. The ordinary dinner plate, decorated with parsley and the little basin of salt water resting among bitter herbs and horseradish, represents the bitter tears of slavery. In a bowl that does not match the Seder dish, it sits upon lettuce, apples, almonds, and other minced nuts would have been mixed with wine to form a paste that symbolizes the mortar that Pharaoh's Jewish slaves used to build the great pyramids of ancient Egypt. The flickering candlelight throws the bowl's shadows across the roasted shank bone of lamb and roasted egg that commemorate the personal sacrifices made at the great temple of Israel and the tragedy of its destruction, along with the Ark of the Covenant housed within its walls. The physical evidence of God's covenant with humankind is gone, and yet he continues to judge humans not only as individuals, but collectively as well. Great emperors and nations have come and gone. Most recently, I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, but the ritual of Passover and its reminder that only righteousness shall warrant God's protection and love lives on. Candlelight dances across the faces of those gathered around the table. My mother, my father, and my younger brother, half their faces are in shadow, the other half illuminated by the deep orange glow. I follow my father's prayers. He chants in Hebrew while I follow the English translation in I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word. I am captivated by this centuries-old ritual. It connects me to the past, to ancestors never seen or touched or heard, relatives slaughtered by the Nazis or vanished into the unknown. Their absence is honored at this moment. I pass my mother I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word, with horseradish that when eaten becomes the ritualistic symbol reminding us of the bitterness of slavery. Personally, it has come to represent the pain that comes from not being free to fulfill one's potential or to pursue one's dreams. I watch my father sucking spoonfuls of horseradish between his plump lips. The sight is enough to make my eyes water. According to his oft-given explanation, his tolerance for its cutting flavor originated in 1943 when, in the unforgiving heat of the Sahara, he and his company had to survive on horseradish and limited amounts of water over a period of weeks. To me, his tolerance is merely another embodiment of his defiant resistance to life's hardships. This is a man who has consumed enough bitterness to make one man leap in despair, yet I have never seen him shed a tear. Indeed, he appears to thrive on the hardships, transforming them into pleasures, just as he now scrapes the jar of horseradish and licks the spoon clean to make sure he has gotten every last bit. Oh, Fred, my mother shrieks, why do you do this to me year after year? Mom complains. As per tradition, my father has put too much horseradish on her. Oh, once again, I'll leave the caption. You can't read that. With a chuckle, he scoops up the excess horseradish and gleefully plunges it into his mouth. Okay, I never meant to marry your father, she tells us, already smiling at the story we all know, but he was so persistent. Finally, just to put an end to his pestering, I told him yes, but on one condition. I would marry him when snow fell in I'll leave a caption. I can't read that right there. I thought I was safe. Snow never fell until God damn it. Once again, I'll leave the caption. She pauses for dramatic effect, though we have heard the outcome every year for as long as we can remember. Wouldn't you know it, it snowed that year in 1950, the only time in modern history when it snowed in, once again, that area I can't read. She heaves a mock of sigh. I suppose it was fate to be, and it's hard to say no to your father once he sets his mind on something. My brother Stephen smiles his shy smile. He is the introvert. He is the introvert, while I am foolishly daring. The family still teases me about my battle at the age of 5 with a stray dog that attempted to drag away my precious jacket. The growling of the animal did nothing to bite to bit. I'll leave the caption. I can't read that word. My fury. And luckily, my mother, armed with a rolling pin, arrived in time to rescue me. To this day, I can't honestly say which one was foaming more at the mouth. She proclaimed each time she told the story, the dog or Frank. She has obtained an I don't leave a caption, can't read that word. Reputation. Neighbors did not know what to make of the hot-tempered and pregnant Hungarian Jew who, with her 3-year-old and a towel, took lengthy afternoon strolls with a highly visible vodka bottle in her purse. I'll leave a caption. I can't read that word. Were outraged to see her. To see her pause and take a long drink, or even worse, pass the bottle to me in my stroller. Once a wino stopped her. No, once a wino stopped her for a swig of the vodka bottle. His face wrinkled in surprise and then disgust as she spat out a mouthful of water. When I was 7, my family moved from Canada to California. In my neighborhood, in Toronto, all the families on our blocks slept with the doors and windows wide open on hot summer nights. The United States seemed violent. I heard stories that people slept with bars on their windows and carried guns for protection. Our well-integrated neighborhood had consisted of English, Italian, blacks, Native Americans, and of course Jews, all united in our poverty. In the United States, everybody hates everybody, a friend warned me. When I arrived in California, I soon found that the United States, while different, was not as bad as I had feared. True, despite our poverty in Canada, keys were unnecessary, whereas upon arriving in the United States, I was quickly in I don't believe the caption, can't read that word, into the importance of locks and keys. I'd rise in the morning, dress my brother and myself, then prepare a breakfast from what my mother left in the refrigerator. She departed at 5 to catch a bus for an hour-long ride before transferring to yet another bus. Although she was constantly tired and sick, she worried more about my father than herself. Age and past injuries made the minimal labor he performed very difficult. Sometimes he'd take me with him to work. The warehouse was like a sauna in the summer, and my father glistened with sweat as he loaded the heavy solid core doors and sashes. The truck ride was my favorite part, and I watched my father in awe as he drove. He'd climb 3, 4, sometimes 5 stories of often makeshift stairs and cross wobbling planks, several doors on his back at a time. He worked without break. Only when the 20-foot stack truck was unloaded did we stop to eat the lunches my mother had prepared. He often treated me to rides on the company forklift. I'd climb into the driver's seat and play with the controls. At 13, I started the engine for the first time, confident enough to take the forklift for a spin and help my dad pick up pallets of doors and lift them up to his smiling face the back of this at the back of the truck. Sometimes a friend who worked in the next shop visited, and they would trade references to the war and concentration camps. My father's friend had been branded with a number tattoo on his forearm, and his enigmatic marking fascinated me. I could not tear my eyes from the pale blue numbers. He had survived. Oh, leave a caption, I can't read that. Where the furnaces incinerated so many bodies that the ashes blanketed the surrounding miles of country like snowfall. Trainloads of soap were melted from human bodies or human bones. Lampshades peeled from human skin. Although many of my relatives had been murdered at, once again I'll leave a caption, I can't read that place, and my mother's mother had survived the camps in body but not in spirit, my father's friend made the story real for the first time. He told me that his brother had escaped the Nazis only to be imprisoned in Siberia. After the war, they were reunited, but again they nearly died from forced labor and starvation. Despite his past suffering, or perhaps because of it, he always proclaimed that life was precious and not to be treated. I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word. One day we heard the clatter of the train on the railroad tracks that ran directly behind the warehouse. I liked its reassuring sound, but that day the din of the train was punctured by a man's scream. Okay, we rushed out to join the small crowd that had already gathered around a broken body on the ground. He threw himself in front of the engine, somebody said. My father's friend stared at the mangled body and unconsciously rubbed his own arm as if trying to erase the tattoo. Coward, he said finally, then turned and walked away. My father was not curious. He treated the corpse as if it were an everyday object. I couldn't understand his lack of interest, and yet I somehow realized the difference between us, or perhaps the difference in our experiences. At 13, death had been commonplace for him. He had even hidden under a pile of corpses to escape becoming one himself. Day in and day out, my father loaded and unloaded doors. Not the most glamorous of professions. Yeah, at least it's an honest profession, and yet at one time he had been one of the most romantic and fascinating figures. A spy, why had he given it up while I was growing up, I couldn't understand that decision. I even resented the fact that he had given up what, to me, a naive and idealistic young man was the glamorous life of a spy, someone who fought injustice and struck blows against the bad guys. Now he had a dead-end job hauling doors. Only much later in my life, after I had experienced the often seamy side of intelligence and espionage work, did I come to understand and truly admire what he had done for his family. As I recalled my father working without complaint, I understood he loved us. His simple profession became an example of true courage and real success. His family came first, and he worked heroically to provide for us and to exhibit his love through sacrifice. Nowadays, that sort of dedication seems regulated I'll leave a caption. I can't read that word. To the past. Or no, relegated. Sorry, I'm not going to leave the caption. It seems relegated to the past. Such devotion is seen as naive or foolish rather than something demanding respect and admiration. My journey began with a strange sense of ethical principles and a code of honor. This was further installed by what would become, along with covert intelligence work, the central focus of my life, the martial arts. And that's it for Chapter 6. Hopefully you enjoyed this read-through. Till next time, later.